Welcome to Deep Dive Celebrity Adjacent. I'm Andy Tarnoff. I'm joined by my friend Carole Caine.
Hi.
We're talking about our friend Howie Mandel, and I put that in giant air quotes today because my stories about Howie Mandel are not quite as glowing as they were about Henry Winkler in episode 1 and Robin Yount in episode 2.
Not to start off on a bad note, but I had to put my one dog down.
It's a bad one.
Which, yeah, very sad. And so what happened was I was coming home from the vet after we had to do it. She was 14. I get it. This is what, when you're going into it, you know that this is going to happen, right? So I'm coming around a corner and I was crying and I went to wipe my eyes and all of a sudden I looked up and I went, oh, Christ, mailboxes. And I took out, you should look at my car.
You took out a bunch of mailboxes while crying from putting your dog down?
Yep.
That's doubly.
Not only did I take them out, Andy, I destroyed them. There was logs flying everywhere, whatever.
Wow.
I know. It was awful. So what I ended up doing was, if I had been a lesser person, I could have just driven away because there's nobody.
You had a perfect excuse to do so, by the way.
Oh, Lord. Anyhow, so at 5 o'clock that afternoon, I walked over to both my neighbors and I said, I'm the one that took out your mailboxes and I'm responsible and whatever you need, replace them and I will pay for it. Well, I wasn't expecting $900.
Wait, how many mailboxes?
2.
Don't mailboxes cost like $20 at Home Depot?
It was the post.
Oh.
I mean, the guy, even when he was putting the mailboxes in, when he gave me the bill, he goes, you went so deep in taking those things out that he goes, I had to really search for the cement, for the post.
Oh, my God.
I know. So that was $900.
Did you plead the, look, my dog just died angle to your neighbors?
Well, the neighbors were really lovely in the fact that when I told them what had happened, they said, don't worry about the mailboxes. I'm sorry about your dog. And so in that regard, it was fine. And then my dishwasher took a dump. So I had $500 in damages for that I had to, I'm like, why don't I just go buy another frickin' dishwasher for this? So it's just been really one thing after the other.
We better make some money on this podcast then. Because you've got some mailbox and dishwasher bills soon.
Any help I can get.
So before we even tell anyone about Howie Mandel, they should be liking and subscribing to our podcast to help finance
my accidents. This is what living with Carole is like.
Okay.
And then because before I put my dog down, this is a whole other thing. I got up in the middle because I've been sleeping on the couch
forever. Because it's the dog. Yeah.
For the dogs. And because I lost 2 of them in 6 months. And so I got up in the middle of the night to use the restroom, and in my stupor, I ran into the wall. And the reason I know that is because the pictures on my wall were all askew. And all of a sudden, I'm like, what's wrong with my foot? And I broke like 3 toes.
Like and subscribe to Deep Dive Celebrity Adjacent so Carole can afford some toe bandages and splints and mailboxes.
It's been
probably your car probably needs a little touch up, huh?
I'm gonna wait and get into. Everybody's like, "Are you gonna get another dog?" And I said, "I'm going to wait. My son's getting married in September, so I'm gonna wait until after the wedding so that I don't have to worry about having somebody take care of the dog."
In the meantime, would you like to borrow my dog?
I really want to borrow her. I do. I would love to have her come over and just spend some time with me because it's quiet in my house.
She's great as long as you don't let her off the leash outside because then she's gone for 3 days.
I've got a tether.
Beautiful.
Okay.
See, there we go.
Bring her over.
Fantastic.
That's right. Okay.
Can I go? Can I lighten the mood?
Yes. Let's talk about Howie Mandel.
I got to tell you, like I said at the top of this, my experiences aren't wonderful because I didn't particularly like Howie Mandel after St. Elsewhere.
Oh, okay.
When he was being a serious but comedic actor without the silly voices, and stuff. I thought he was really good. And then he got into this shtick with his stand-up comedy, and then the Deal or No Deal, or, you know.
With the glove balloon, that kind of stuff.
I didn't care for it. But I really, as a kid, I liked St. Elsewhere, which maybe it was a little before my time, but I don't know. I watched it with my parents, and I always thought he was really good. So I'm just going to preface this with, I'm not really a current Howie Mandel fan.
I think when he's gone into the game show kind of situation, it's very interesting. But a lot of them, I think they do. I mean, look what Drew Carey did and all that kind of stuff. And it's very lucrative for them.
For sure.
It's just an interesting venue for them. And it's weird to see them in that kind of situation. But I had a great experience with Howie Mandel.
Okay. Well, again, to back up, Celebrity Adjacent is our shared stories of celebrities. Not all of them are awesome. Not all of them are terrible. They're just what's
supposed to be.
And we picked this one because we both have a different story about this guy. I want to hear yours if you remember it. And I will also preface with some of this stuff happened so long ago that it may be lost to time. So it may be kind of an oral history. Hopefully we can find some digital files of things, but it may just be you and me talking. So
the thing is that at the Montreal Comedy Festival, because when I worked at my other radio station, I would get up at like 3 and we worked the mornings. But at the comedy festivals, these guys work until 12, 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
And if you want to do anything with them, that's when you have to be there.
Right.
And so we had set up outside of one of the comedy shows, and it was, I don't know, I really want to say it was like midnight. You always stationed outside a bar.
Right.
Because they would come directly off the stage and come into the bar area. And so we were at a hotel where all of the comedians were staying. And Howie Mandel came out and we kind of waved him down. And he was very gracious and he sat down with us and was great. And then all of a sudden, like 6 or 7 drag queens came out of the comedy area and he started talking to them. And this one turned around and came and sat down on his lap. And he was so funny with her. And we had the greatest conversation. And it was just a very, very funny thing.
Were the drag queens part of the performance at the comedy festival?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So they weren't just random drag queens.
Right. They had their own little thing. Okay. And this was an African-American drag queen in a yellow dress. I'll never forget it. And she sat on his lap and he was so great with her and they had so much fun together.
Do you think they knew each other?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. It didn't come off that way.
Okay.
But it was really a fun experience. And he sat with us for 20, 30 minutes. He gave us a lot of time.
Did you wind up putting the entire thing on the air, or did you cut out some of the...
Well, no, it got cut for the best of CD. It got cut down to like 5 minutes. But at the time, we let it run. When you got that kind of thing going, just let it go. And it was just really fun. That was my one experience with Howie Mandel, just because it was so fun to watch him interact with this individual who had walked past him, and then he said something, and then she turned around and came right back and sat on his lap. So it was fun.
It's an honor to have Howie Mandel on the show.
You know, I was just thinking it is an honor.
It is. It really is.
I didn't know what that glow was around you two, and I realized it's honor.
It's honor, yeah. And it comes and goes, though. Sometimes the honor's there, and then some
And I
days...
said, there's no way that I'm coming up to Montreal when they brought me up and they thought of bringing me unless I could be on 96.5 with Dave and Carole.
Thank you, Howie. That's very nice of you.
I didn't really say that. You're just blocking the door, and I can't get by.
I was going to say, that banner really helps to kind of tell you where you are, you know?
You know what? This is I never rebelled as a child. My parents said, don't talk to strangers, and now I'm focused my whole life on talking to strangers.
That's your entire life?
That's my entire life. Yeah, I love doing this. I've gotten... no, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I know.
I'm not even having a good time right now.
I know.
I'm not enjoying it. I'll be totally honest. A lot of people aren't honest. They say I love it.
It's okay.
I'm not having a good time on the show. I don't like your show. I've never even heard your show. I heard me on the show. I don't even like me on this show.
I'm sorry.
I imagine that the listeners are going, what are they doing with Howie Mandel? This is not even a good. I've done radio where I've done great shows.
Yeah.
This is not a good radio shot for me.
You know what? I had such hopes.
Thank God you people aren't the Ed Sullivan of radio, because my career wouldn't be changed tomorrow.
Oh, darn it. I really.
How many people in Milwaukee now are going, hey, you got to turn this on. Howie's on. Nothing's happening.
There's nothing going on.
I haven't answered anything. I haven't given you a good question. This is just a table. It's a table. It's a
table, a microphone. You got a cheap pair of headphones.
People.
Somebody just walked by in a party dress.
Yeah.
She had a yellow party dress.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Was it a girl?
I don't know if it was a
think
she.
So. I think it was a guy.
Really?
I think it was a guy. I'm pretty sure.
A guy.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, because
Adam's apple, or
I don't know if it was an Adam's apple, but she was pointing in the direction she was walking, and it seemed to be lower than the neck. Something
She wasn't using her finger.
Something in the skirt was saying, "I'm heading that way." Most of us don't signal. But that's I guess that's courteous.
Right.
We knew right where she was heading. You know what's weird, though? For a minute, you looked and you were attracted, weren't you? You looked. You went, a girl just went by in a party dress. Got excited. You don't get a lot in Milwaukee, do you? There was a guy in a shiny dress. He was 6'6" with a bouffant, and there was 30 seconds there where you were in love, right? You thought, how can we get rid of Howie Mandel and I could party in Montreal? I want to bring her back for you. Can I tell you something? Hi, what's your name?
Okay.
Here. What's your name? Trixie?
Trixie, sit down, honey.
Oh,
Go
wait.
ahead.
Ooh,
Go ahead.
Forceful here. I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I thought you might.
You walked by, and I was facing him. You should have seen the look in his eyes. Lust. I'm just telling you what happened.
I get that all the time.
do you really?
From him?
Yeah.
No, this is the first time from him.
Really?
He's kind of cute, isn't he?
Trixie, what's your real name?
Very.
Trixie, what's your real name?
I don't have one.
You don't have a real name?
Nope.
No.
How tall are you, Trixie?
6'1" without heels.
Really?
Is that big enough for you?
I think it's too big, actually. Yeah.
That's lying on her back.
Getting fresh, Mr. Mandel.
That's a beautiful dress now.
Thank you.
Where do you go to shop for something like that?
Actually, this was made for me.
Really?
Yes. A wonderful designer named Bob Miller from L.A.
Oh, okay.
That's a wonderful designer.
Is it? Bob Miller?
Oh.
No, you're a big
fabulous.
Hollywood guy. I mean, your wife made shop there at Bob Miller's place. Does she
I don't think it's Bob's. You shop at Bob's Dresses?
Yes,
Not the same Bob.
It's next to
or
Walmart.
Dresses for Bob.
I want to see the
Or
shoes.
Bob for dresses.
I want to see the shoes.
Don't. I don't want to see the shoes.
I know what he wants to see, don't you?
I
You want to see my sexy underwear, don't you?
No, I don't.
Don't you, Howie?
No, I don't want to
Yeah,
see
you do.
He brought you over.
I believe
Wow.
you sent him to go get her.
I think
in
I'm
the
giving
men's
Howie
room.
a chubby. What's that?
No, you keep your own.
Okay, so you have a generally positive.
It was a very positive experience, yes.
No, that the only time you met him?
Yes.
Okay.
How about you?
Well, I know this because I looked it up, and
Okay.
it was 2012. And like I said, some of the digital files are lost to time, unfortunately, because I recorded this interview, but it's no longer in existence. But I do remember exactly what happened. Howie Mandel was coming to Potawatomi
Okay.
to play the Northern Lights Theater. And for people who don't listen or are not from Milwaukee, this is a
That big theater.
yeah. There's a Indian reservation casino, and they bring in comedy. And we worked throughout Milwaukee. We worked with Potawatomi a lot, and sometimes we would ask them if we could interview someone coming into town, and sometimes they asked if we would interview someone coming in through town. And this was one of those cases where, in 2012, apparently nobody wanted to interview Howie Mandel. So their PR person said, "Andy, would you take this one?" I'm like, I don't really like Howie Mandel. I mean, what am I going to say? I don't watch his game show.
Problem with him.
I didn't have a problem with him. I just didn't watch his game show. I was telling you I didn't like his shtick with the hand, the plastic glove on.
Right. And I received a glove. The girls did
Like him when he was not being so ridiculous when he was on St. Elsewhere, but that was like 1986 or something like that.
Okay.
So I said, yeah, I'll do it. And they said, all right, Howie's going to call you at 2:00. And it was like a Friday afternoon and I don't know, in the summer, and everyone's clearing out as they did. And 2:00, 2:30, 3:00, no call from Howie.
Oh, no.
Like, you know,
It's not unusual, though.
it's not unusual. And you expect it from people that you perhaps, I mean, when William Shatner was a little bit delayed in calling me, that was fine. Captain Kirk can take his time. Howie Mandel, I didn't want to do this interview. So I had like my questions like ready to go. It's going to be a totally generic, you know, you're a germaphobe, you're doing a game show, etc. Finally, Howie calls me and he wasn't in a good mood and I wasn't in a good mood. And we went through this interview and asked all the questions that I was supposed to ask. You know, what's it like coming through town? You know, tell me about your game show. Tell me about being a germaphobe. And you ever had those interviews that just like aren't going anywhere? You ever done those where you're just sort of like, I'm just going through the motions? I'm sure you have, right?
I've had a number of those, but I always try to, when even going back to interviews and things like that, just overall with sports figures, my former partner used to just do all the X's and O's, and I was always the one that was like, so,
right,
how are the kids? What's your wife up to?
Right.
What's this? That kind of stuff. So, I don't know. I just didn't. I never went through I never did what their publicists wanted us to do because I'm like, they're so sick of answering these questions. And that's what you're talking about.
That's exactly what's happening. I was mailing it in. He was mailing it in. But he brought up, I don't know, toward the end of some question about his game show. He's like, I'm sure you don't remember this, but on this show that I did way back in the 80s called St. Elsewhere, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, hold on a second, Howie. I actually do have a question for you. And he's like, and I stopped him in his tracks because I said, there was an episode of St. Elsewhere you did maybe like 1986. And it was about, you know, you died and you went through heaven and hell and purgatory. And it changed the whole conversation.
I'll bet.
Because I was about to say to him, just so you know, like, you know, 12-year-old Andy or something, that was like one of my first like introspective feelings about the afterlife. I stopped short of saying like St. Elsewhere, defined my view of heaven, but he lit up and he's like, oh my God, I remember that episode. We filmed that at Lake Havasu and he goes,
that's
and deep on something that I have since Googled and there really isn't. You think the internet has everything, but there is not like a behind the scenes of this specific episode of St. Elsewhere from 1985. And it totally changed the tenor of the conversation.
Yes.
It broke them down into like talking about real things. And I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
Now we can go talk about the Muppet Babies. But I wound up getting something out of it and it made me like Howie Mandel a little bit more.
I have found that the bigger the star, the more that they like being asked about regular stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I was having lunch with a couple of girlfriends and I was telling them stories about my sports figures and things like that and things that people that I've interacted with, which we will.
There are future episodes to discuss this.
Brett Favre is one of them.
Oh, yeah.
And Brett Favre, Mike Holmgren, Paul Molitor.
Absolutely.
Vuki, all of these guys, they get tired of being asked the same questions. And I was listening the other day to something, I'm not going to say what, and it was very clear to me that this individual was doing nothing but, in the interview, reading a press release.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, read the press release and then expound on it. Use your brain and ask questions that maybe would be interesting for them.
Another thing people are doing on the interviewer side is they just hit up Wikipedia like 10 minutes before.
Exactly.
Interview. And what people don't understand on the other side is that these celebrities are doing these like media tours where they call, they do the interview, they hang up, they do the next one, like dozens a day. And it's got to suck for them when it's the same five. Tell me about blah, blah, blah. Tell me about blah, blah, blah. those are really sucky interviews. And it's my goal to not do those.
Right.
Even if I don't care about Howie Mandel.
No, you got to go in and try and draw out their personality or find something that's in what you just did. You told the story. And like for me with Howie Mandel, when the drag queen sat down on his lap, it changed the whole tone of everything. And he went into almost a stand-up routine with this drag queen. And I just sat there and kept my mouth shut because what am I going to say? This is funnier than hell right now.
Well, sometimes you just let them do the talking, right?
Right.
That's the best part of the interview is you tee them up and let them talk.
Right.
I mean, ideally you have a conversation, but when they're doing what they do, let it roll.
Right. Right. That's once again, it goes into other podcasts that we're going to be doing, but Billy Joel was one like that. You know, when I talked to Billy Joel, we were supposed to have, because what they do is they send a signal through your headphones to tell you to wrap it up.
Yep.
And finally he just said, stop sending that signal.
Oh, I'll be done when I want.
Yeah. He goes, do you still have time for me? And I'm like, I got all the time you need. And so that was another thing too, where we stopped with him, like we stopped talking about the music and all that kind of stuff. You just get him off topic.
Absolutely. I think we should save this for another episode, but do you have any William Shatner stories?
Oh, I do.
Okay. Because my William Shatner stories play right into this concept.
Okay, do it.
Well, I'm not doing it today. We're saving that for the next episode.
Okay.
But I think the next one should be William Shatner, if you've got anything on him.
I have a really fun William Shatner story, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was when we were out in Los Angeles, so yes.
Fantastic. I'm sorry about your dog.
Thank you. I miss her a lot. And I lost my Beauregard in June, and I lost my Sydney 10 days ago, 12 days ago. So it's kind of a look. Do you have any idea how boring it is to sit at the house with your husband alone?
No. I don't, but I can imagine.
It's just like, I look at Lou and go, can you do something interesting?
Yeah.
You know, at least come over and lick my face or something.
I will lend you a dog. I will lend you a little Rexy. She will do that all day long.
I'm taking Rexy. I'm going to bring her home to me.
Like and subscribe to this podcast, people, because we got to get Carole a toe splint, a new dog, mailboxes.
I will have more stories than you know what to deal with. I have more stories than Heinz has dill pickles, as my mom used to say.
That's a lot of stories.
That's a lot of stories.
Thank you, Carole.
Okay, you bet. Thank you.